On yesterday's episode, we talked about contemplation and how important contemplation is. Here's something that you might contemplate today, and that is language, sexual language, what it brings up for you, the charge associated with certain words, and the shame that it can both tune you into so it makes you more aware of, as well as help you let go. And letting go of shame is a truly wonderful thing because letting go of shame is like taking a governor off a car. You've got a supercar that can do 220 miles an hour, and you've got a governor on it keeping it at 100 miles an hour. That's kind of what shame does. And the more shame we have in the more areas and layers of a particular aspect of life, and the stronger that shame is, the more it's going to keep things grinding slower and slower. So when we let go of shame, it's this expansion that happens, which makes it really awesome. Let's talk about how language and the language of sexuality can help with that. Let's start with a little test, a little experiment, just to see what comes up. Life, it's all a test. It's all a test. Everything I ever mentioned to you guys on all the episodes of this show, you get to take it if it resonates with you, if it lands with you, and put it to test in your own life. So let's do a little test right now. If you take a moment and think about some sexual words, penis, vagina, cock, masturbation, think about those words, maybe even say them out loud and see what comes up. What do you feel? What do you feel in your body? Can you say those words? Can you comfortably say the word masturbation out loud? What happens when you say that? What emotions kind of come up? Here's the thing. All of this language around sexuality, it tunes us in to and makes us aware of where we have shame. Because if you have shame, it's kinda like a way worse version of this fly that was just flying around me right now. Shame is way worse than that. If you have shame, again, it's holding you back, it's constricting your life, and often we are not aware of all of the shame that we really have. All humans have layers of shame. It's a universal part of the human experience. Something we all work through in our own ways, to our own degrees, and our own infinitely unique life experience, but we all get to experience shame in some way. And a lot of it we're not aware of. We're not aware of where we have shame. We're not aware of maybe how strong it actually is. And most importantly, we're not aware of how much it's actually holding us back. So when it comes to your sexuality, something like your erection problems or having control issues and being able to last or getting rid of sexual anxiety or any of the kind of bigger issues, letting go of porn and really being done with that for good, if you think that shame is not involved in that habit and in the process of moving away from any of those things, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. I've seen with so many guys, as well as in my own life, I've seen and heard in conversations what happens when guys become aware of and then let go of the shame that they're holding around different aspects of their sexuality. So, body shame or shame about the size of your cock specifically, or shame about how long you last, or shame about how many sexual partners you've had, or shame about a sexual experience that you've had, or sexual trauma that you've gone through, any of these countless numbers of things. When we tune into it, we become more aware of it, we process it through contemplation, and then we let it go. It's like this expansion that happens. It's literally like taking the governor off of a car. Things just all of a sudden they go faster, they go easier, they go way more peacefully, way more joyfully. So the language is it's like the canary in the coal mine. It tells you where you have shame to look at. So let's go to that word masturbation. The vast majority of guys going to have some kind of shame around saying that, especially depending on the context. So it may be that you can be with friends and you might throw a comment like jerking off as some sort of like joke or whatever, and you kind of in this offhanded kind of way, and that's no big deal. But if you were to try to say the word masturbation to those same friend group in the context of like an actual conversation about mindful edging or something like that, would there be a different charge that comes up? if there's a different charge energetically, emotionally that comes up, it's tuning you into, guess what? There's more shame there to be looked at, more shame there to be let go of. So think about these words as well as the context and the situations and the conversations that you say them in. So again, let's talk about the masturbation thing. Maybe you can get on a coaching call with me, or you can be talking to a close friend about kind of sexual specific topics, and you can say the word masturbation really comfortably. No problem. Doesn't bring up a charge at all. What happens if you were to go to your girlfriend, your wife, your partner, and say, honey, I'm going to go masturbate for 10 minutes, or honey, this happened in my masturbation practice earlier, or whatever version of that? Would you have shame? Would you have a charge come up around that? If you do, there's some layers and aspects of shame there to be aware of. So tune into what language brings up for you, this process of listening. I think that's the biggest key, is actually paying attention to when you say certain words, when you think about certain words or certain topics. We've got to listen to what actually comes up, and you're going to start to find things where it's like, oh, no, I would feel so uncomfortable saying that word in that situation. You guys, if you've been watching slash listening to the show for a while, you've gotten to witness me actually working through all kinds of shame with you guys right here, because guess what? I get to say these words not only in conversations, not only in coaching calls, but here, just for the world, for whoever eventually listens to this and finds this, for you right now listening, which by the way, thank you for taking some of your time and sharing it with me. When you pay attention to how language affects you, it gives you a tool, to understand, okay, whoa, if I have shame around this thing or this aspect of sexuality, then that shame is actually holding me back. So if you have shame about having sexual anxiety, and it just kind of keeps happening, and you have that just like devastating kind of angst about it, and you have a lot of shame, not about what's right now in this moment, you have shame about these things that have happened in the past. That shame is going to absolutely make your sexual anxiety worse. It's going to absolutely hold you back from having the kind of sexual experiences that you want to have. So in that case, it may actually be not necessarily individual words. It may be having conversations, real conversations about those experiences with me on a coaching call, with a trusted friend, with yourself, maybe even in an out loud kind of way, but tuning into that language of those situations. It'll show you where your shame is. It'll help you let go of it. That's the last thing to be aware of, is that one of the best ways to let go of shame is you just talk about the stuff. You talk about it in a safe place. You literally just shine a light on it. You look at it. Now, part of that shining a light on it and looking at it is just within your own inner world, because one of the things with shame is we don't want to look at it. It's like if there's a bear over here, I'm scared of it, but I don't want to look at it. And so I just kind of like try to pretend it's not there. That's not going to make the bear less dangerous to me. It's going to actually make it much more dangerous to me. Much better to actually look at that thing. And that's one of the things with shame, is we've got to shine a light on it by being willing to actually be with it and be like, yeah, I have a lot of shame about that, or those experiences, or this aspect of my body, or who I am, or whatever, being really real with yourself. But then also having those conversations, speaking it out loud. Try this. Very last thought to leave you with: stand in front of a mirror, say these words out loud in front of yourself. Just you. Look yourself in the eyes and say some of these sexual words, the ones you most don't want to say, the ones you least want to say those ones especially. Maybe have a little conversation with yourself. That's kind of a verbal, visual way of doing some what can actually be pretty deep contemplation. See what comes up for you when you have that kind of conversation, and see how, when you say these words, when you get real, when you have real conversations about it with the people who matter, with the people, if with your partner, if you're in a relationship, when you have real conversations with people who can support you and show up with you in this space, those conversations literally, along with the inner being willing to look at that bear, those conversations, those are the other part of shining a light on that shame. You shine a light on it, it goes away. Shoo, expansion happens so much more easily. Be willing to look at those scary shame bears. They really are. Like, it's especially around sexuality. any kind of shame that we have around sexuality, it can dig so deeply at us that makes it both really impactful in how much it's holding us back, and it also makes it really kind of scary to get really real with. But when you do, you'll discover that you can kind of like let that bear go. And then he's not even in your world anymore. And then you get to play and have so much more fun and expansion. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me, sending you good vibes. Have an awesome rest of your day. Talk to you soon.